another cooling measure is coming soon. Here's what you should be doing. Now, many of you may have seen this article that says there's some 3,500 new homes to be marketed in November as developers rush out launches. And in my previous video last week, we were just talking about a potential market crash coming. Then you'll be wondering, hey Marcus, why this week you are telling me that there's a cooling measure when last week you told me there's a crash? And this immediately brings me to my point of the previous video that there was some movement in terms of the prices from Q3 2024 to Q4 2024. And it immediately prompts me to do this video because by using data that is not being released on URA yet, we should be able to find some telltale signs about what's going to happen in the next few months and what should you be doing as a seller. So how this video is going to be done is, as usual, the TLDR version of this article because it's too long. I did it so you don't have to. Secondly, I'll be sharing with you what is a cooling measure and why is there a cooling measure, what happened after the previous cooling measure, and last but not least, what you should be doing as a buyer and a seller in today's market. Now, before we move on, if you enjoy watching real estate related content that gives you data and analysis, do me a favor by liking this video because it's going to help me a great deal. Thank you. Now here's a brief TLDR version. 6 projects with 3551 units amongst them will be booking sales in November in an extraordinary crush of new launches in a single month, total 6. All will be starting preview this weekend. 4 projects, Trump Park, Nava Grove, Emerald of Katong and Executive Condo Novel Place are scheduled to be launched on November 16. Union Square Residences has brought forward its sales booking date to November 9th from its original November 16. And at this time of recording, after this article was out, now it's confirmed that Trump Park will be launching its sales on 10th of November. And the most shocking part that I got, right, is the collective at One Sophia previewing start 1st November 9 AM. Sales launch is on 6th of November 10 AM. First come, first serve basis, no balloting, got queue system, level 3 to 14 price release, so on and so forth. But what it means is that you don't even need to ballot. It's like first come, first serve. I think developers now are getting more and more creative on ways to actually capture the market share, which is a good thing. I think just shows that the market has evolved tremendously and developers are actually a lot more forward thinking than the past. And for the buyers today, it's also better for them not to have to all wait for 16th of November. In fact, it's not a bad thing lah. For some of my clients, they like it because the mad rush for on 16 to all pull together is really too stressed already, and logistically will be a nightmare for everyone. So that's my comments on this. The current rush by developers to get their new project out the door comes on heels of recent launches that clocked strong sales and official data showing that overall private home prices has dipped 0.7% in quarter 3. And pay special attention to this quarter 3 because at the end of this video I'm going to show you what I noticed, which will translate to what you should be doing moving forward. So all in all, this article is telling us that everybody is launching together, and some of my agents or even my friends are asking me, hey, why are all of them rushing to launch at the same time? Is it because of some auspicious day? No, it's just nice because they all managed to get their COH approval, Controller of Housing approval for their floor plans and their site plans, the building plans and whatnot, and all of them want to launch before the school holidays. Why? Because simple, a lot of people are not in town during school holidays. If you actually start a preview during the school holidays, means to say that there will be quite a number of buyers who will not even have a chance to visit the showroom, and not to mention even maybe the developer staff, some of them also got take leave lah.
Hashtag just kidding.
But more importantly is that we're all trying to avoid the school holidays so that everybody has the opportunity to get to see the show flat before they travel, and nowadays booking can all be done remotely. Secondly, the interest rate recently has been lowered as well by the Fed, and it signals that more interest rate cut will be happening soon. So it just indicates to the developers, yes, it's a good time to clear the existing stock so that they can actually leverage and buy more land at a discounted interest rates as well. Last but not least, in quarter 3 itself, Singapore's GDP rose by 4.1%, which indicates an economic momentum. Higher pay, more interest to buy properties. Lower interest, more demand for properties. Simple economics. So for the rest of the article, I'll link them in the description, or you can join my Telegram channel that have been posting regular real estate news that could be relevant to you. And if you're interested to find out the price, I also have the full price guide of these 6 developments with the starting price of each unit type. Or if you just wish to get my advice, this is my number, you know what to do. Now, coming to what is a cooling measure and how does it affect the property market, if you refer to the latest cooling measure that happened last year, what it says that the government announced an increase in additional buyer stamp duty rates to promote a sustainable property market. The revised rates will take effect from 27. So long story short, if you look all the way to the end, it will actually tell you that if left, the second half of the last paragraph, it says demands from local purchasing homes for owner occupation has been especially strong, and there has been a renewed interest from local and foreign investors in our residential property market, if left unchecked, prices could run ahead of economic factors. What do you mean by economic factors? It says with the risk of sustained increase in prices relative to income. So over here, what it's just trying to tell us is that they're trying to ensure that property prices remain affordable. And by now, some of you will be so tempted to type out and say, since when were property prices affordable? Wow, it's only affordable for rich people. You property agent always say everything is affordable. Before, hold your horses, before you get angry, I will explain to you what it means, and then later you decide for yourself. So emotions aside, let's talk about facts and figures. And this is a chart that I love the most because it puts very difficult things into a very simple perspective. And the red line, which means the income, the economic growth, whatever you want to call it, basically it means blue line stands for the property price index. And you will see the bubble each time being formed every time the property price index grows faster than the economic growth. And you will see that since the early 80s, the 90s, during the Asian financial crisis, year 2000, 2008 during the subprime, you see that every time the property price index goes too high as compared to the income growth, there will be a bubble. And to the government, it's very straightforward. If today property prices grows faster than income, logically you will not be able to attract foreign talents or people that wish to come to Singapore to work. Why? Purely because they find that the houses are too unaffordable, number one. And Singapore, especially we are a migrant country where most of us, our ancestry somehow or rather come from other countries, we are always attracting foreign talents. Next, whenever there's a crash in terms of property prices, it actually creates a lot of negative impact on the economy and also for overseas investors that wish to come to Singapore, who will want to invest in Singapore when you see that there's a very volatile market. Hence, since 2009, government released a slew of cooling measures, total 8 rounds of cooling measures to stop the market. Finally, in 2013, you see that the property prices started to taper down all the way until 2017. And why is that so? In 2017, the government announced a relaxation of the cooling measure and you saw prices going up. Let's stop here for a bit. The question here is, since 2013 until 2017, was the economy doing well? Answer this question. I give you 5 seconds to think. And if you're still thinking, right, don't need to think. Because if you look at the red line, that is the GDP. And when the GDP is growing means the economy is going strong. But why did the property prices going down? Is it because of the economy driven, or is it because it's a self-inflicted correction by our Singapore government? Let me know what you think inside the comments. And I think by now, the explanation of why is cooling measure, why are there cooling measures is getting a little bit too long. This is the history of all the cooling measures that has happened, the volume of transaction and also the price growth. So all in all, need to understand more, screenshot, read for yourself. Don't understand, give me a call. Now by now, you may be wondering,
Marcus, when are you going to tell us why you think it's a cooling measure?
Fine, I'm going to do it now. Honestly, I almost forgot lah. But I have it prepared already. Basically, at this time of recording, the latest flash estimate in terms of the pricing for October has not been announced yet, because usually you only be announced on 15th of the next month. Means on the 15th of November, then you'll be getting the release of the transactions done in October. However, in our agent system, we are able to see the transactions live due to the apps that we subscribe, and you are able to see that the prices in Q4 2024 has already gone up, and it's quite a significant jump for the OCR from 1661 PSF to 1831. And for the RCR at 2076, it jumped to $2,472 per square foot. Even the CCR that has been a bit slow has gone up from 2268 PSF to 2332 PSF. And some of the main contributors to the jump in the PSF for the RCR and also the OCR especially will be the likes of Norwood Grand, Mayer Blue and even A at BT, which were transacted and then exercised in about the October range. Like I said earlier on, you only get this information in 16th of November when URA consolidates all the transactions in October. And that's why I say you need to subscribe to the channel, because we always give information ahead of URA announcement. But jokes aside, if you are feeling lucky today and you wish to do a good deed, subscribe to the channel please, because it means a lot to me. Thank you so much. And looking at the November upcoming launches, there's really a telltale sign, because if you look at the pricing of Chuan Park being the OCR, Emerald of Katong, Nava Grove, Union Square Residences in the RCR, and also the Collective at 1 Sophia being the CCI area, you will see that if these projects do well as we expect, it will effectively bring up all the PSF, because for Chuan Park, we are looking at a starting PSF of 2299 PSF. Don't quote me, this is what I remember, it's 2299 PSF. If you slap a 10% premium, it will actually land you at about average of $2,500 per square foot launch price. Assuming if it does well, it will effectively pull up the current Q4 OCR PSF to at least over $2,000 per square foot. Likewise for RCR, Emerald of Katong, Nava Grove, Union Square, if they they do well. We are talking about average collective PSF of about $2,600 PSF. And if you actually compare to the current Q4 average PSF of RCR of 2,300 plus, you will likely be pulling it up by another $100 to $200 per square foot on average for the 3 projects. And if you compare with the current RCR PSF for Q4 2024 is currently standing at 2,472, likely you'll bring up another $100 plus PSF. And last but not least, collective at One Sophia, the first come first serve booking system. Currently CCR is at $2,332 per square foot. You'll likely be bringing it up because the expected starting price is 2,700 plus. From PSF is 2,782. So if it does well and forms the majority of the transaction in the CCR, it will likely cause a push up in price for the average PSF by at least a 10 to 15% more. And usually such cases, when you see a very strong growth in prices, this raises a red flag which signals the government to look at whether should we be implementing a cooling measure by judging the income growth versus the property price index. Now if you find such content logical and also digestible to you, do me a favor by subscribing to the channel, because it just proves to me that people enjoy watching content like this and can learn from content like this. Thank you so much. Now coming to what you should be doing as a buyer and seller, you'll be thinking, for sure, if I buy now, will I be stuck being the person that buy at the highest and then the musical chair stops and all the buyers run away and you're stuck buying at a higher price? In order to understand whether you will or you will not be, first up you need to understand how the market has reacted to cooling measures in the past. And this is what happened since 2013. You saw the MSR and TDSR and ABSD being introduced. Basically at this point in time, they rid off all the artificial inflation in terms of the pricing. Basically it means buyers cannot buy a second property without incurring additional buyer's stamp duty, which turns off a lot of those second property buyers. Those land bankers in the past, your rich uncle that actually buy one property every year, these people are out of the market. Secondly, TDSR also avoids over leveraging. Back in those days, you're able to unpledge a 200k and then qualify for a loan of $1.3 million to buy your $1.5 million property without even having to have an income. Even a housewife can do so. So since 2013 marks the end of the speculative era, and from the 2013 cooling measures, you saw a knee-jerk reaction. Why? Because whenever government says there's a cooling measure, the mentality is very simple. You know the government wants to bring down pricing. And you as a consumer, will you buy or will you wait? Most likely you will wait because you want to adopt a wait and see attitude. Nothing wrong. And over time, there'll be gradual acceptance. Why? Because buying properties is always time sensitive. If you need the address for school enrollment and whatnot, you will start to go in. And most importantly, many of them, after waiting for a few years, they realized that the price never really dropped much and they decided to go back in, accepting the new down payment, the lower loan amounts, even to pay a bit more ABSD than what you used to be paying, just to fulfill certain timelines. And in 2017, government realized that the property price index was actually going much slower than the income growth, and government decided to ease the measure. And actually that wasn't a very significant change. It was only from 16% to 12% in terms of a seller's stamp duty. And you saw the prices actually shoot up. Why? Again, this is what we call emotion. Why emotion? Because when the government say that they ease the measure, you'll be thinking, oh, government want the price to go up already, let's go in and buy, the price will sure go up. And that's one of the reasons why people tend to have this herd mentality. When everybody wants to go in, you want to go in. This is the result. Ever since the first cooling measure, since the global financial crisis in year 2009, you saw 8 rounds of cooling measure, which caused the price to go down by 7% over 28 quarters. Let me know in the comments, do you think it's a significant drop? And in 2017, when the government actually eased the measure from 16 to 12% seller's stamp duty, you saw prices climb 28%. And that clearly shows one thing. People tend to make decisions based on sentiments. And when sentiments tell us the prices are going up, people will start to rush in. Looking at this over here, if you are the developer and you see that there are so many people at the show flat during the preview, will you sell higher or will you sell lower? Let me know inside the comments. So historically, cooling measures don't bring down prices, it just dampens the buying demand. And however, over time, prices will still go up because property purchase is always time sensitive. And more importantly, look at the transaction volume, look at the GDP, and also look at the interest rate today. This will actually form a better basis of whether property price will continue to go up or go down. So as a seller, there's nothing wrong with hoping to get the record prices. However, if you think that there will be a cooling measure as per what I earlier mentioned, I'm not fear mongering, then I would think that it's time to sell at market value plus a bit of premium based on the condition of your unit, and then move on with your plans to the next plan of what you wish to really achieve. Because having a cooling measure means that you will also dampen your upgrading plans ahead. You may eventually risk yourself being not able to buy the purchase content that you eventually plan for. However, Remember, there is no need to panic sell, there is no need to reduce your price drastically, and there's no need for you to sell below valuation unless absolutely necessary. Most importantly, do not sell unless you have a plan, because cash is trash, and if you don't have a better plan, you rather keep your asset, because over time the prices will still continue to increase. So as a buyer, I'll fall back to my 3 golden principles, which is to save up as early as possible and buy in what you can afford, not save until you can buy what you want. Next, constantly increasing your asset net worth by upgrading as soon as you can. Last but not least, having sufficient buffer of 18 months or if not 20% in order to tide through difficult times. And as a buyer, cooling measures will never make it easier for you to buy. It just makes things more difficult to buy. If you use this table for reference, 2017, you only need to have 259,000 down payment and a 7.2k income for a 40-year-old to buy a 3-bedroom in the OCR. Fast forward 2024, Lake Garden residences, even if you're able to buy earlier on start of the year at $1.9 million, currently the lowest is about $2.1 to $2.2 million, you will have required a down payment of 539k and an income of 15,000, effectively bringing everything up by double, even though the prices didn't increase by double yet. But having said this, I'm not saying that every property can buy and just go in and buy now. Make sure you find sufficient price support. What I'm trying to say over here is do not panic because your dear friend is telling you that now is not a good market to buy property, because they are not in your situation. Do a proper assessment of your current finances, and if you have the holding power to tide through difficult times of 18 months and more, historically it still shows that the property prices will appreciate over time, because buying properties is never an in and out kind of thing like buying the stock market, trying to game the stock market. Buying property is really an investment that will appreciate over time. So that's all we have. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and I'll see you at the next week's video. Bye.